welcome to the FFL Solidity team call. This call is every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going into April, week two. Quarter two of the year has kind of just begun. Quarter one flew by. But super excited. We have Paul McClain on the call with us today. Paul, how are you doing?
I am doing phenomenal. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for asking, and thanks for being on with us today. You never fail to serve the team, that's for sure. And with that being said, Paul, if you don't mind kind of opening it up, I kind of wonder, with goals, we kind of make them at the end of the year, the beginning of the year, and sometimes they have to be adjusted, right, for better or for worse, so to say. But going into quarter two, what are some things that you adjust or that you take a look at in the business that could be helpful for us here on the call?
Awesome. Hey, well, it's a privilege to be on with you guys. In fact, I look forward to this Thursday every single month where I get to hop on and spend some time with you guys. And my goal is to best serve you. So the benefit that I guess I have is every single week and every day I have a lot of conversations with different producers, different agents, different teams. And I hear a lot of things. What I realize more and more is how blessed I am to be just surrounded by phenomenal people. Like, I love the fact that I'm in business with you, Maurice, and Christina, and I can name a lot of people on this team. And it's just, it helps me stay aware. It helps me learn, grow, develop. And my whole goal is to find more value so I can provide more value to you guys. And what I do know is this, when you look at like the second quarter, this is, and I love the fact that you just called out like, hey, this is the second quarter, because too often we lose track of like where we're at in the year. We lose track of what season we're in, what quarter we're in. And some of the times we got to make some adjustments so we don't lose the game, right? And if we're looking at the 12 months or 2022 as this is the game this year, we want to be aware of where we're at. Like, we want to do a checkup and say, okay, this is where I wanted to be. This is where I wanted to end up at the end of the year. Let me reverse engineer this. How am I pacing? What's my pace look like, right? And it's essential. You take a look at a lot of sports and athletics and teams, and a lot of times halftime is when the Super Bowl is won, right? You look at the Falcons and the Patriots. Like, the Falcons were getting whooped on, man, but when they went into halftime, or the Falcons were whooping the Patriots, but when they went into halftime, the Patriots sat back and said, man, what do we need to tweak, adjust? They didn't lose sight of the fact that they're going to win. They believe, hey, we can still win this game. We're just going to have to make adjustments and tweaks, but the victory is already ours. And they went out there and they approached it with confidence, made adjustments, and they came back and had the greatest upset and comeback in NFL history. Now, the Falcons, likewise, man, they were killing it. They were doing a lot better than expected, meaning that if you would have said, what's your expectation going into halftime prior to the game, they would have said, I don't know, that we're hopefully up by 3. I mean, they would not have thought we would have been leading by that amount of a margin. Vegas didn't have that anywhere close. But when they went into halftime, they let what they were experiencing mess up their expectation. So what they were experiencing was so good that they assumed they were going to win, and they lost expectation that they had to just continue to do what was needed and necessary to win. So they started playing they try to play not to lose. See, that's what we have to do. Some of you are crushing it halfway through the year or through the first quarter. Some of you are not. Like, you're like, shoot, man, this ain't looking good. This is a perfect time to stop, reflect, and think, man, what do I need to tweak and adjust? And by the way, if I went through the last 14, 15 years of me being in this business, I've had quarters that have gone either way. I've had a quarter where it's like, man, that wasn't what I wanted. Now, what I do know is the people, the agents, the managers that stop and they just interrogate the last quarter. They spend time to actually think about what they're thinking about. They think about what their schedule look like. They think about their business. They're more likely to make the adjustments. See, I think everything first starts with awareness, right? And so the person that's more aware of where they're currently at, they can make the adjustments to where they want to get to. They can get more in alignment with the assignments that they've set in place for the year. And so the one thing I really encourage you guys to do as we look at the first quarter, kind of wrap it up, is for one, just really look at it, like production-wise. Is your level of production, does it match where you want it to be? The business-wise, does that match? The amount of contracts you have each week, the amount of new writers you've got, your staff structure, does that match? does your habits match? Like, you said, man, I want to start waking up at this time. I want to start to go to the gym. I want to start doing this and that. Like, what does that look like? These disciplines, and really kind of interrogate the reality of where you're currently at. The thing though is this: you don't want to beat yourself up. If you're not there, there's no point in killing yourself for it. That's not going to help it get better. If you start killing yourself and say, man, I ain't any good, look how far off I am, what you're doing is you're tying a bad first quarter to your identity. And when it becomes your identity of how you see yourself and how you look at yourself, well, that's going to drive what you do in the second quarter. And then you start to just, really have this vicious cycle of getting exactly what you got before. What's because it's rooted in your identity. No different than a lottery winner winning the lottery and in 48 months, like their 90% chance of being bankrupt. Why? Well, because their identity is rooted in that kind of income. That's where their thought process is at. That's what they believe they can make. And so they go back and do self-sabotaging behaviors and get back to where they're at. What I'd encourage you guys to do is never tie any bad month, bad quarter, or whatever to your identity. You're not what your results are, right? That's not the case. What you got to go back to is like, man, there's no reason why I can't go out there and become a Hall of Fame producer. There's no reason why I can't go out there and build a vast business. There's no reason why I can't go out there and have financial freedom. There's no reason why I can't go out and develop my business to an integrity partnership. Now, is that going to happen right away? No. But the reality is there's no reason why you can't. And so you don't want to tie the quarter or results to who you are. That's not the case. What I would encourage you to do is, but be aware. Once you can look at and become aware of your first quarter, then you start to identify some things. Maybe it was leads. Maybe you were inconsistent with lead strategy. Maybe you're inconsistent with social media and posting and being consistent there. Maybe you're inconsistent with hopping on the podcast. And you didn't even realize it, but man, that's why you develop these different thought processes and belief systems about yourself, about leads, about your business, because you aren't plugged into a good source. And you're either going to grow by intention or by default. So you started to go back to default, having these negative thoughts and beliefs on what you could do and not do because you weren't plugged in. Maybe you weren't plugged in to the podcast now. Maybe you missed meetings and you convince yourself that there was a reason why to miss them. But that's maybe you got away from these fundamental things that are essential for you to grow your business. Maybe you stop developing and reading in the morning or reading at night, right? Maybe you stop some of those late night, behaviors that were helping you develop the person that you wanted to be and accomplish the goals you wanted to have. So just become aware. Once you get your awareness up, then you can look at and say, okay, this is the reality. My intention is to be here. So what action do I need to take? And what I would encourage you to do, this is the most effective thing to actually take what you're evaluating and getting the most from it is by what you do with it, right? It's a evaluated experience that's adjusted and acted upon that teaches you something. And then you guys have heard it from all different kinds of ways. You've heard, God will take everything and turn all things together, all together for good. You've heard there's a greater benefit, a seed of benefit in any kind of adversity, right? You've heard like, what does this teach you? You've heard this has happened, for me, not to me, all those different cliche things. It's like, oh, that sounds great. But the reality is that what are you doing like about the first quarter to find whatever it's teaching you, to find whatever seed it's giving you that's going to set you up to have something greater and grander than what you would have ever had if you didn't experience that first quarter, right? And so I just think it's really healthy to go back through that and really start asking yourself questions. This is a thinking person's game. So spend some time in thought, thinking about what to tweak, what to adjust, be aware, find out what your intentions are. My intention is to hit this, to do this, to be here. But what's the most important action that you can take that's going to get you back on the intention you have and what you desire to where you desire to go? So I think that's very important to do. The other thing is this, like, realize how important it is, just consistency. Like, I know consistency is not like a sexy word. If I was like, hey, you're consistent, you're like, oh, thank you so much. Like, that makes me feel so good. It's not one of those words, but it's a very important word. Like, the one thing that, I've messed up a lot of things. I ain't good at a lot of things. But consistency was something where I knew that if I could just continue to focus on the activities and do what I needed to do each day and not the scoreboard, not the result, if I could just focus on the root, like doing the daily activities, the disciplines, that over a period of time, it was going to become something that would look really good, right? It was going to be something that looked really good. But I had to focus on it and realize that I can't lift my head too soon. The problem is a lot of us plant the seed that's going to really take us to another level, whether that's you're finally making a decision to invest more in your business, or you're finally making a decision to do some travel trips, or maybe you decided I'm going to start trying some telesales, or maybe you decided to hire your first recruiter, maybe you decided to start posting on social media. The problem is when we don't see progress fast enough, we come up with two conclusions, and both are wrong. The first one is my small decisions I'm making, they don't matter that much. Like these small little things don't matter that much. Me investing more in leads that one given, week and get my lead investment up, it didn't matter that much. Me getting to the office at 7 a.m. and starting it out, man, I didn't see the progress off that fast enough. It didn't really matter that much. Me staying at the office till 9 o'clock at night and being the last one there, man, that didn't matter that much. I didn't get a whole lot from that right away. Me going out there and door knocking between appointments or pulling over at 8 o'clock instead of coming back home, I sit there in my car and dial from 8 to 9:30 and then go back home. That didn't matter that much. Me hopping on these podcasts frequently, I can't really see it, so it doesn't matter that much. And that's not true. That's a lie. It's a wrong conclusion, right? And then on the other side, we do the same thing. When we don't go to that last appointment, or when we know we haven't hit our goal yet and it's 7:30 and we're like, man, I'm just gonna leave early today. Or when you don't invest the same amount of leads that you should on Sunday, you're like, I know everybody says get the same amount every single week, but you don't understand, man. I had 5 bobs. There was 5 bobs last week that didn't pick up, and I think I can get these bobs this week. It doesn't work that way. So you think these small little decisions don't matter that much. Heck, it could be like that with anything in life, right? Like, I ate one bad meal and I didn't blow up like a blowfish, man. It didn't matter that much. I just binge ate. It didn't matter that much. But what you don't realize is this. Your life is a sum total of all these small decisions that you make. A couple small bad decisions or a couple small good decisions, good disciplines, your life's not gonna change overnight, and your life's not gonna be wrecked overnight. But over a period of time, they're gonna add up, and all of a sudden you look up and you're a board member. You look up and you're a Hall of Fame producer. And people think like, oh, that person was just, man, they're just like an overnight success. No, you know that it was the small little things you did. It was waking up early at 5 a.m. every single morning, even when you didn't see all the results overnight, right? Just like when you go to the gym one time, and you haven't been to the gym in 3 years, you don't wake up the next morning, lift up your shirt and be like, oh my God, I got a 6-pack. It doesn't work that way, right? But over a period of time, it was all those sacrifices, right? When certain people were gossiping and saying this or that, you weren't, right? You chose to not do that. You chose to, when it was easier to say it's because of this or that, you chose to count all these little things over and over and over and over and over again that you look up and they lead you to exactly where you're at. The reality is, which is a blessing, everybody on here, you're exactly where you're at in this business or in any area of your life because of your small decisions. That's a fact. Not because of circumstances, situations, where you're born, how you're born, who you're born to, all those things. It's because of the responses, the small decisions, the choices that are added up over a long period of time. And that's a blessing because that means we have the full ability to change it. We have the full ability to start choosing these new disciplines to go out there and create new habits, and those new habits leading to success. I heard this a while back, Marisa, and in fact, it's in the book, The Common Denominator of Success, which I love the book because the book's like 5 pages. So it's more like a pamphlet, but it makes you feel like you read a whole book and it takes you 5 minutes to read the book. And I love the fact that like in the first paragraph, it tells you the title of the book. Because those titles where it says like something really catchy and you're like, oh, I want to know. Or one of those like thumbnails, like that's so good. I want to know how to lose 48 pounds in 48 minutes. And then like they don't ever tell you how to do it. Well, in this book, it tells you what it is early on. It says the common denominator of success, successful people form the habits of doing the things that failures don't like to do. It doesn't say the successful people like to do these things. They don't like to do them either. They don't like waking up at 4 a.m. They don't like investing in leads when it's uncomfortable. They don't like staying out late at night, making those last phone calls. They don't like trying to stay positive when it's easier to be negative. They don't like being moved by what they know they want based on instead of what they feel. They don't like those things either, but they form the habit of doing those things anyways. And the reality is, once they've got those habits, it's the same. Like if you're habitually waking up at 7 o'clock, it's painful and it sucks waking up at 5. But after a period of time, I promise you, you will not know the difference. Your body will just acclimate. It'll be just habitual. So the successful people, they form the habits of doing the things that failures don't like to do. And so what habit is the most important habit that you need to form? What does that look like for you? What's the one habit going into the second quarter that if you put in place will make the second quarter better than the first quarter? You said, Paul, I got 19 of them. You don't even know, man. Well, I hear you. Trust me. If you just, seen some of the seasons I've gone, I mean, I'm a disaster. I get it. We're all human beings. We all mess it up. We all fall short. But it's the way we respond to it. You can't tie it to your identity. You just sit back and say, it is what it is. What did this teach me? Let's go forward. And everybody's got some kind of story. I don't care who gets on this training call with you guys that you think, man, look at how great they are. They look good. They talk good. Business is good. Whoever it could be. Great. Whoever you want to get on here. The reality is they've got probably more spots of failure than you've got. You just don't know. But what we tend to do, call what you want to call it, I believe it's the enemy, tries to get you to believe that you're afflicted with some special condition. Like you're the one that's not good enough. You're the one that struggles. You're the one that can never have a big business. You're the one that can never be a top producer. That's a lie. That's an absolute lie. Most of the time, the people that you admire and think, wow, look how great they are, they were worse off than you were when you guys started. They just made a decision to sacrifice, to pay the price, to not believe the lie that that's anything of who they are. And they started to put in these disciplines that didn't change overnight. Grady, for his first year, I think he made two sales. And I give you all on and on all the stories. Andrew quit 9 times the first year. Every one of them's got a different story. The problem is the difference is they didn't give up. They just continued to tweak, adjust, figure out what can I put in place to make myself this much better. Now, this is the last thing I'll say on this, and then I'll open up for questions for 10 minutes. Most people, everybody on here knows what you want to accomplish. Everybody on here. Rami wants to be a Hall of Fame producer. Marisa wants to be a Hall of Fame producer. Everybody knows what they want. Everybody's got similar goals. Most people want to be a board member or an integrity partner. Most people want to have financial freedom. Most people have similar goals, but they have vastly different results. So it's not what goal do you have. It's not a goals problem. It's a systems problem. The first thing is, what systems do you need to put in place that's going to help you get to your desired outcome, right? It's the systems, it's the rituals, it's the routines. And that's going back to what's the single biggest habit, right? That you can create. Maybe it's a system of purchasing leads, a system of waking up at this time, a system of getting to the office at this time and asking certain people questions and plugging in, or what does that look like? It's a systems problem. Most people know what they want, but they don't know how necessarily to get it. The benefit with FFL is there's so many people that have charted the path that can say, this is what to do. So the reality is everybody knows kind of like similarly how to get there, but they're not aware of how they're off. So if you know, like, this is a recipe, most people don't even realize that they're off and didn't put all the ingredients in because they're not looking at it, which is going back to where I started in the call. So heightening the awareness. But once you know, okay, man, I need to tweak this and adjust this. This is how I got to get there. The thing we want to focus on to get to your goals this year is not do goals, like this is what I need to do, but who goals, like who do you need to be to accomplish that outcome? Like I know for myself, when I looked at my, early on in the business, I knew that if I wanted to just be somebody that could go out and help, 400 families a year, I needed to be consistent. I needed to be consistent. I needed to be disciplined, right? I needed to be strategic, not emotional. So some of my first who goals were, I'm a leader who is disciplined, consistent, moves by a strategy, not an emotion, and who is focused. Because I knew that that's who I needed to be. Like that person would be the person that can do that, right? And so if you want to build a massive business, who goal do you need to have? Like, man, what about you do you say, hey, this is who I need to be to get that kind of outcome? I need to be a person that takes more risk. I need to be a person that invests more. I need to be a person that's that's positive. Man, I want to have a great team. I want to develop a great team. Well, are you being a great team player, right? Well, Hugo could be, man, I'm a leader who's a phenomenal team player, who serves, who's generous, who's positive, who's talk positive, who walks positive, who looks positive in every area of my life, regardless of the circumstances, situations, or people. I'm growing a massive business. That's a who goal. Because the reality is, if that's not the case, you'll never, ever grow a business. I've never met one person that's grown a massive organization or business that can say that has negative talk or is not empowering, uplifting, or a great team player. They're just not. So if you, and everybody's got different things, right? Like for me, in the beginning, I was so about, when I was 19, I just wanted to make so much, I wanted to be successful, that I was passing up significance to be successful. It was just all about me. And I knew that if I was going to be able to build a massive business over years, that I had to stop focusing on me, right? And like the goals that would benefit me. It was like, I wanted to become a top producer so then I could live in this house, right? I wanted to make X amount of money so then I could drive this car. I wanted to make X money so I had all these if-then goals. It was all about I wanted to do this so I could do this. And I knew that if I needed to achieve significance in what God called me to, I had to switch that. My goals had to be, more about not so I could achieve this, but more of who I needed to be. I wanted to go out there and be a top producer so I could be a great example to the people and empower and encourage people. Make it more about those things, right? I want to go out there and accomplish this so I can develop disciplines and consistency and right habits to be all of who God called me to be. So what I'm saying is that everybody's got your different things as far as where there's more areas to grow to hit the level you want. Everybody's got maybe a different who goal, but focus on your who goals. Who do you need to be to accomplish what you want to accomplish? If you know who you are, you'll know what to do. That's a fact. If you know who you are, you'll know what to do. If you say, man, I'm just an accountable person, then you'll know what to do. You'll know that when anything takes place, it's on me. If you're an accountable person, if you're like, I'm the person that's accountable, that's generous, and that shines a light on others, well, then you know when things are going good, if that's who I am, then I say it was because that person, that's that person. If things are going bad, man, it's because of me. It's because of me. If you're like, man, I want a great team, well, how can I be a great team? You're gonna say, man, I'm a great team player, right? You gotta be the change you want to see. So if you say, I want to see this, well, man, you gotta be it. And so these are just different things, guys. I promise you, make a massive difference. I like I said in the beginning of the call, I get the benefit and privilege to stay in daily conversations with just giants. I like with people that I admire, and we have mutual admiration for each other. It's such a great team culture that we've got. Like I was just talking to Grady, and he showed me this message, some YouTube video you watch. Like, dude, this video is so good. Watch it. And I mean, like he's thinking about me when he's watching that. And I do the same thing back and forth. Like we're just all trying to win and grow and develop. And that's the benefit I have is I know these people, and I can promise you that what you like the person, the who goals that they've got had to come before accomplishing the do goals of what they wanted. There's no question about it. And if you would have met Grady 2 years ago, he's such a different Grady than he is today. And I can say that about Zach or whoever you want to call. Like it's that development process. And I know, man, if I want to be more of an impact player in 2023, I got to become a better version of who I need to be this year. That's not just working harder or being smarter or whatever, or going faster. It's working on who I need to be to best serve the team and grow. Right? To know how to deal with people better, communicate, connect, encourage, empower, to be more disciplined, structured, focused, encouraging, enthusiastic, energetic, all these different things. So I hope that makes sense. I do have some time for maybe a question or two, so I'll pass it back to you, Maurice. I know I went on a tangent, but I hope that helps.
No, that was awesome. I love kind of pointing to the who goal, not the do goal, so to say. I think that that's a really big deal and something really important to point out. Um, with that being said, question that Rami has, so I just looking here in the chat box, would be how do you navigate producing at a high level while also trying to build at a high level, while you're still in the field kind of hustling? And I feel like this kind of correlates with what you just went over.
Well, I think for one, that's a phenomenal question, Ronnie. I mean, that's always the balance. Like, I need to go out there and I want to make the money selling it, but I also want to build a business. And then some people they'll sell less because they're making enough off what they're making from their sales. So like, I don't need to sell so much. So I'm going to sell this much to have a lot more time to recruit. And the reality is the best thing you can do is go sell as much as you possibly can, because all that additional income that's above your expenses, you can use to build your business, right? And so if you go out there and can generate an extra $10,000 in cash flow, man, well, now you can spend more time or some more money on marketing and ads and hiring a recruiter and a staff and those kind of things. So I think the biggest thing you could do is focus on going out there and selling at a massive high level, creating great cash flow. And then that cash flow allows you to feed your business at another level. I mean, I'm gonna use this example because I got 5 kids, and so Shark Tank is like the show that they like to watch. But when you watch them, they're typically on that show working a full-time job, trying to get their business to a level where their business can get them free from their job. And they only can generate so much cash flow from their job because most of the time it's a 9-to-5 job. And they're going on there because they're trying to get capital raised and giving a part of their company away so they have more revenue. Why? So they can feed their business. They're like, hell, I could go out and create an extra couple $100,000 by myself to feed my business. I will, but I'm making X salary because I work a job. And so when you go out there, my whole thought was the more I can feed this thing, the more it's going to grow, right? And I also look at it like, if I'm going to waste $50,000 on trying to find, and this is how I looked at it at the beginning because we didn't have good lead vendors, I want to go waste it as fast as possible to find the right ones that are going to get profitability. Like I knew that like it's not always going to work out. Like I might try this one recruiting platform and it doesn't work out. I might hire these 2 recruiters and I think, man, these 2 recruiters are going to kill it, and then they don't work out. It's not always necessarily going to work out, but I wanted to be able to feed it as fast as possible so I could get through all those ones that it didn't work out to finally get to the ones that it did work out, right? And so I think the goal, Rami, is to go out and just be in the field nonstop, help as many families as you possibly can. I know for myself, man, and everybody's different, but I'm so productive when I'm in my car looking through the windshield, man. I'm not distracted, I'm focused. And so now as I'm making all that money, I got recruiters, I got money going into, like to say, ResCon's a great way because it produces high quality leads. So you're getting the people already ready to go. I'm putting money back into LinkedIn ads. I mean, whatever is working. I mean, I know like Nina doesn't do LinkedIn job ads. She does a lot of Instagram. Maybe you hire somebody just to do Instagram. It all works, right? It's like when somebody says, man, that person only works mortgage protection leads, and that's why they're writing 50 families a month. It's like, okay, I hear you, Billy. Why don't you call that person? Oh, shoot, that person's only working instant internet life leads. That's why they're writing 50. It's like, no, fool, they all work. But whoever you're talking to, whatever voices you're listening to the most is going to lead to the choices you think and the philosophy you believe about it, right? And they all have different techniques and things that they're trying and adjusting. Some work out better for others. You say, why is that? I don't know. But guess what? Why does it matter? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is just getting after it, making those tweaks and adjustments. So what I'm saying is, if you can just go out, create as much revenue as possible, you can start getting some staff in place, recruiter to do some social media, recruiter to work some different ads, maybe run on LinkedIn or Facebook, or maybe you don't like doing that. Maybe you could do social media and they can post on Instagram, follow 100 people, like 25 things, comment back. I mean, there's all different kinds of platforms. The reality is they all work a little bit, and they all don't work all the time. It's just what it is. But the more you have going into it, the more it's going to work out for you. And it's like that with anything. But sometimes we get sideways and we think that, oh, this is the only thing that works, or this doesn't. And I've done that before where I get closed-minded. I'm only working with one platform. The best thing to do is figure out and just always be trying new things, have a philosophy of experimentation, and realize that, if you can just continue to reach out, get feedback, connect, find out what's working, what's not working. You can always adapt and evolve, and that's how you're going to have a progressive business. So sell at a high level, man. And then when you get those agents that are killing it, you start moving as you start to get to these different levels, Rami. You want to spend your time with only the 20% of the people that are creating 80% of the income. My biggest mistake was I started spending time with, I was going on rescue missions. And, you know, Sean would be like, dude, you're like the guy that pulled on the side of the road, find a stray cat that was dying, and you try to give it mouth to mouth and bring it back to life. And I was like, I'm not how I feel about that, dude. He's like, well, it's true. So what he was saying was like, I was trying to go, like, I wanted everybody to win. So I'm reaching out to, you know, 3K Bill, trying to teach him how to go out and help 10 families a month. He's like, what are you doing, man? Like, you're more likely to help the person helping 20 families a month help 40 than 3K Fred go out and write 5. And so what you're going to realize is that, you know, a winner is going to win, and a loser is going to lose. That's a fact, right? I don't know how to better say it. Like, you cannot cause something that's going to win to fail, and you cannot cause something that's going to fail to win. That's not on you, it's on them. So what you can do is you can encourage, empower, and challenge. The 20 percenters will be a lot more receptive to elevate and grow than the person that's doing 5-6 grand. The person that's doing 5-6 grand, the reality is this: they just don't want to work. They just don't want to work. I mean, heck, I was writing 20 grand a month, you know, when I was 19 in the Great Recession, working 4-year-old mortgage protection leads. I was still sagging my pants and listening to Tupac when I went to my appointments, and I smelled like Newport shorts. I mean, what are we talking about here? You know what I mean? Like, that's the truth. So, like, if somebody's writing 5 grand, they don't want to write more than 5 grand. That's what they want to write. They want to write more, they write more. So a person writing 20, 30, maybe they want to do more. They need to be encouraged, inspired, challenged to do more, but they're more likely to do more. So Rami, what you want to do is the ones that are doing a little bit, leave them alone, dude. Some of them will change and they become the 30K, but you won't make them change. They'll decide to change. What's the best way for them to decide to change? You promote the podcast, the training, the calls, because through repetition of message, they can think bigger. So substitute their thought process, which is, this is who I am, this is what I deserve, I'm not any better, I'm not any good, which is a lie, but that's where they're at. They get enough podcasts, finally think, man, why not me? Why not me? I can do this thing. And boom, they change. When they change, then you start helping them out. Then you start throwing fertilizer, watering, you know, and helping that grow. But there's nothing you can do. You just leave them in the sunlight. Sunlight's a podcast, a training call. You promote. And then along the way, as you get these people going, everybody you talk to, it should be warm market. Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Because, man, some of our best people, they came for depth of warm market because somebody said, who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? They let this person, that person takes over the world. Does that make sense? So that's the best way. And it's simple, man. Just go out there, focus on helping as many families as possible. When you have all that revenue coming in, you should be thinking, like, what can I do? There's a great conversation that we can have. Like, man, I got X amount coming in. What's the best place I could put it? I can tell you where to put it, right? Not because I'm anything special, but dude, I could reach out and get 15 people on the phone and say, hey, where are you putting it right now? You know, it's like if you call Andrew right now and you said, hey, what's the best recruiting platforms? He's going to say, I got no idea. If you say, what about, because he's not in it. Just like if you ask me right now, or like, what's the best lead type? I don't know. I'm not selling. Marisa, can you tell him what the best lead type? I don't know. I think they're all good. I mean, that's always my answer because I think that's the truth. I worked every single lead type. I worked at a lead that wasn't even a lead. They told me it was a lead, and I believed it was a lead, and I went out and helped. I mean, like, what are we talking about? Who cares? If it's just a reason to give somebody a call, you know? So I think that's probably the best approach, my man.
All right, thank you, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I got time for one more question if you guys have got one. I don't know if you can in the chat.
We have one more from Judy. So what are the most important decisions you've made as a leader and mentor of your organization?
Well, I think one of the most important decisions I made was to just focus on going out and control what I can control, meaning that I get so fired up sometimes about the lack of growth in certain areas, or I get so content with crazy areas and seasons of growth. I think for me, when I just really focused on how I can go out there and provide the best example with what I did and what I was doing and what I was saying. You know what I mean? Like, when it comes to, I mean, there's always, I'll give you an example, like being in this business for as long as I have, I mean, I don't mean to go into this, I went uphill both ways barefooted. And man, when we started FFL, we had paper contracts, paper applications. You had to get a notarized signed document just to get a contract through because we were going through litigation. I had lawsuits that were like, inordinate. I mean, I was paying over 10 grand a month in litigation to attorneys. We had no BPL. I was doing mail drops all over the place. I was flying to different states. I had to give my leads away because my agents were starving because we had no CRM, nothing like that. So I was just dropping leads and hoping that they'd pay some, and Judy knows about that, you hope that they pay some of it back. But that's how we got started. And so what I realized early on is like, that stuff, I believe the company is who it is because that happened. Like the leadership, the core group, and that was myself, Sean Mike, Andrew, Mike Killamit, Mark Mead, Frank Euphemia, like this was, we had to go through this battle and fight, man. And I think that what that helped us develop was a mindset that would allow the success that was going to be around the corner that we yet didn't see. And it taught us to be, just like this happens to us or for us, not to us, all those kind of concepts here. Like we really should have embodied that because we had to, you know what I mean? Like there's so much negativity that if anybody spoke it or said something negative, man, like it could have killed us. And so we all kind of held ourselves accountable to that. You know what I mean? Like if I called Sean and I had some kind of complaint about like, dude, man, the leads are not coming in, the miller's not there. And, this legal bill, like, dude, I'm trying to figure it out. If I did that, dude, his response literally, I still remember, was like, hey, Paul, listen, dude, I love you, bro. I'm actually running a business and I'd love to kind of have you vent to me. But you should have to respect yourself because there's kids that have cancer and they're dying. You're not one of them, so it's embarrassing. How about you just go back to work? And as much as it seemed like it wasn't, I guess, heartfelt, like that taught me a lot about how to respond to just different things in the business to elevate, right? We had all kinds of stuff going on, man. We had people and companies making up stories. I mean, I left the other company. They literally made up lies about every area of my life, try to damage any kind of credibility. They try to act like I was, what they said I was a bartender, that I had like multiple affairs with my spouse, that I had no credibility, that I lacked the ability to train and equip people, that I was not a good producer, I was writing bad business, on and on. Anything that they could say, it was out there, right? And so what I realized is, man, I just have to put the blinders on because there are so many different things that could have messed me up. And what that taught me, I guess, as a leader, and one of the best decisions I made was, man, if I can't control what all these people are saying, and I mean it, like it was all over the place. I mean, it's like you can look up stuff, and they still try to do it with more with Sean and stuff. Like it's just the way it's going to be. Like if you want to create something great, it's going to be like that. But to only focus on what you can control is for one, the best way to build a good business, but also the best example you can give to your family and to your agents. Now that's why I love what Sean said. Hey, it's attitude and activity. I mean, we had the shirts, man. We were wearing the shirts just to try to get it ingrained in our hearts because we're like, man, there's so much chaos and negativity and things taking place. And that's the way it should be, man. Like, LeBron James has 3 people guarding him on a game, not because he sucks, but because he has such a massive impact on the way that game can turn out. He's got so much giftedness to turn that game where the other team could lose, that they got to put that resistance on. And so what I realize is this, man, a lot of times when you're going to have, you have something that you can really create that's great, big breakthrough, you're going to have a lot more weight that you're going to have to push off, and so you can say, well, that just is, I just believe it. Now, because of that, I think we've built a company and developed a company that's got the DNA of that. We got a very accountable company that people want to serve and help others. And it's like they focus on what they can control, and it creates less drama and stuff, like a lot of companies, it's just all this drama and this and that. And I just don't think we have a whole lot of that. And I think it's because the leadership of the company has made decisions to focus on what we can control. We can't control a lead vendor by, billing us $40,000 when it was supposed to be only $42,200, and too many leads came in and we were trying to figure out what lead vendors. We couldn't control that. But what we didn't do is Sean never allowed us to call and complain to him, ever. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. He didn't care. We call, hey, dude, man, they screwed up. They sent me, 400 leads. I requested 40. I got, it was $42,000. And he's like, well, dude, it's business, man. What do you want me to do? We're all just trying to figure this thing out. Put your head down. Why don't you just figure out how to work them? Why don't you give them out to agents, do some splits? It was that kind of thing. It was just like, figure it out. And what that allowed me to do is really to grow and develop and develop the right characteristics, the right who goals to be able to go out there and build the right business. And so I think that's the biggest thing is it's easy to think as you build a business that you have to go out and do more for agents. And what I realized, and be clear, I was the biggest offender with that. When I say cat, Sean said I'd go, find a stray cat. He was basically saying like, dude, I would work 100 hours a week and, all the hours outside of selling, we're trying to, hold people's hands and work with people. And the businesses that grow the fastest, they don't do any of that. They just empower their agents. They minimize. I mean, watch what Sean does. He doesn't do it. I mean, he's built will be $1 billion company. I mean, he knows what he's doing. Like, he minimizes everything. It's no big deal. Simplifies everything, and empowers people. And when somebody reaches out, if it's going to be good for them to have that conversation, then have it. But a lot of times, it's not good, right? We got to ask ourselves: is this keeping them dependent, or am I raising them up and causing them? Like, I was with Zach for that. Last thing I'll say, I was with Zach. It was funny because we were in the back at the meeting, and he had an agent call him, and he said, "What's up, man?" He said, "Hey, dude, I just want to know, like, on a client that's this age, what product is it, right?" He's like, "I have no idea. I mean, if I did, I would call you. I'd help you. But do call the company; they could help you." And he hung up the phone, and he's like, "Dude, I knew it was Americo, obviously, And he's like, "But I wouldn't answer him because I want him to figure it out." You know what I mean? And like, and by the way, his group, when you look at FFL, there's always seasons, different people that like go through spikes. Right now, he is the one that's got the fastest growth. And you want to talk about somebody that like doesn't hold any hands? I'm just telling you, he doesn't hold any hands. You can say, well, some people, he's got more people winning on his team than anybody else. He's got more 20K producers. Listen to this. He's got more people writing over 40,000 a month than the whole West Coast hierarchy. His group does 5 million a month. We do 20 million a month. He's got more people than over 50,000 than we do. We're 4 times the size. And one thing he would tell you, he's like, dude, we have this atmosphere where you are a complete wussy if you don't go out there and just start helping families. Like, we don't spend any time. We got this atmosphere like, dude, freaking grow up. Like, we don't take little stupid calls. He's like, we just create independent people. And that's what he does. I mean, he goes, you say, are you sure? Come to my office. He'll be in the next couple months. Just spend some time. Watch him answer the phone, the way he handles it. He's just empowering people. It's not a lack of caring. It is caring. I mean, if you're looking at, the parent that makes their kids bed all the time, is that a caring parent? They're 14. No. The parent that's like, dude, figure it out. Like, no, go figure it out. Sometimes they have to go through failures, right? And it's not easy to do. My daughter's 15 years old. Watching her, like, now she's starting to like boys and stuff, which it freaks me out even thinking about it. I honestly don't know how to respond or behave. I'm like, do I kill him? Or, I don't know. Like, I'm confused. I don't know where to go. But some of the stuff I just have to let her go through. Like, when this dude hurts her and she's like, I can't. Sometimes I got to let her just go through it to figure it out, to grow and develop, And it's the same thing for agents. Sometimes, the thing that we fear, that struggle or adversity, that has to happen in order to build up and develop the right character to hit new goals, right? When scripture says, count it all joy when you fall into, tribulations and hardships and things like that. Well, it's building perseverance, right? It's building perseverance so you can achieve more. And so, I just think that's important. As you build a business, guys, it's going to be very easy because, you especially when you start doing really well, you're like, man, I want to slow down and help people. Everybody wants to help people, and it's counterproductive. Just to be clear, if somebody's on your team, even if you're a selfish piece of crap, you want to help the person. Why? Because it helps you. If you're selfish, you only care about you. So you want the person to do better, so you make an override. And if you're selfless, meaning that given selfless, selfish. They both want the same thing, the person to do well on their team. But sometimes we misconstrue what that really is. The last thing I'll say is this: no different than when you're in the field. How many agents, I mean, I know I was one of them, client says, I want to think about it, can I get back to you? Or I don't know my budget quite yet, we just moved in, trying to figure out the bills. And you understand them. You're like, that makes sense, man. I mean, shoot, you just bought a house, you got to figure out alarm system, what your electricity bill is, water. I get, I get you don't know what it is. And you don't want to push, right? Because you want to push them. You don't make them feel. So he's, oh, no big deal, man. Like, hey, why don't you give me a call back next week, right? You're nice. You think that's nice. And let me call you back next week, and you get back to me, and guess who never calls you back next week? They don't. And guess who's going to die without life insurance? And it's your fault. They are. Was that nice? No, but we think, and I'm happy to tell you how many agents I deal with, like, oh, just nice person. It's like, dude, that's not a nice person. That's an evil person, because you're hurting the client. They just need you to go back to the value, challenge them, and lead them to the right answer. The person that's nice, the person says, with all due respect, Bob, looking at your situation, I know that if you don't come home tomorrow, that Mary's not going to be able to pay the bills and take care of everything financially. And Bob, I can't convince you that you're going to want to make a premium payment. Man, you can't convince me that Mary's not the most important thing to you. I see the way you look at her. And I think you would agree this is just something we have to put in place, because I don't think you could live with yourself knowing if you didn't come home tomorrow that your wife wouldn't have a place to live. That's nice. That's being nice. And then you help sell it. It's the same thing with agents. Sometimes what you think is nice isn't. You gotta tell them the truth. You got to be upfront. You got to be bold. You got to be direct, because from an outside looking in that, hey, if they tweak and adjust this will help them get to where they need to be. And sometimes it's not the easy thing to hear, but it's a thing that's necessary to hear for them to develop and get better and grow. I mean, Sean's had many direct conversations with me saying, like, man, you got to get this right. If you don't fix this characteristic, you're not going to ever be able to grow the business. That will hold you back and hinder you. And so that's our job to do as an agent, right? As a manager, as a leader, is to focus on what we can control, right? Provide a great example, show a great mindset, attitude, activity, and then also make sure that when we're out there, when we're having these conversations, the conversations that challenge and empower and equip, not that make them feel good. The agent doesn't know what they need. You know what they need. I don't know why I'm hitting the house when I swing the golf club. I need my buddy that's behind me that has a different perspective, that's not so close to it, that can give me feedback. So that's kind of how I wrap it up. So guys, hey, thank you for having me on. I appreciate